Hey, what's up everyone? So I wanted to do an overview video of the two-way radios that I currently have installed in my 2019 Nissan Titan. I know a lot of people with these newer vehicles and how tight they are on the interior. They have trouble trying to figure out a way to, either mount the radios, mount the control heads, or run the cables without them, just having cables all over the place, or the radios, being obtrusive where they're mounted. So I wanted to hopefully give some of you all ideas who are contemplating putting a mobile or two in your vehicle on how to do it in such a way that, it's a clean install without having a bunch of wires and whatnot hanging all over the place. So starting off with the antennas, I currently have a UHF quarter wave that is mounted to my hood using a trunklet mount. Now this one is cut for the UHF business band and GMRS. I primarily use this one for GMRS right now. And going towards the back on the roof here, so I have a NMO mount, which I currently am running a Comet B10 dual band antenna, and that one is for 2 meters 70 centimeter, and that antenna is currently connected to my Yaesu FTM 300 mobile. So for the NMO mount, I took the dome light out from the rear passenger area. That basically just popped out, and it gave me clear access to the roof. So I just drilled that hole, put the antenna mount in there. I ran the coax up above the headliner down to the B pillar, removed the B pillar, and just ran that coax all the way down into that OEM channel for the cables, and back to the radio. So that was pretty simple, and thankfully I had the passenger dome light there that was able to give me access to that. If you have a truck that does not allow you access through that, another option is to put the antenna further towards the back, somewhere where you can at least run the cabling, in the headliner, and you can bring it down somewhere near the rear window. And that way you're not messing around with having to drop the headliner and everything, because you gotta be very careful when you do that, and that can cause a lot of damage. And getting to the radios here inside the truck. So let me turn this down. I've got a Yaesu FTM 300 that I had mounted to the windshield. And what I did was I went to the hardware store. I purchased an L bracket. I believe I got this one from Home Depot. And I bent the L bracket to the angle that I needed. And then I used RTV silicone to affix that to the windshield. So once the RTV silicone dried and it was holding on good, I then affixed the control head using the included screw, and basically just mounted the control head to the L bracket with that screw. Now, obviously I drilled a hole into the L bracket prior to mounting it. And then, so with the control cable here, wait till this chat passes. So with the control head cable here, basically I ran this in the headliner, ran it all the way over to the A pillar. And on these Nissans, there's a this plastic basically pops off, which will reveal two screws, one on the top, one on the bottom. You can then remove this handle and pry the panel off. So I ran the control cable down the A pillar, behind the airbag obviously, and then down to the floorboard, where I had also removed this panel as well. And then I removed the kick plate also, and that control cable basically goes into the OEM cable channel that is existing under the kick plate there. And for the second radio here, I have a Connect Systems CS800D. Now this is a dual band radio as well. It's VHF, UHF. It covers both ham and business and GMRS bands. Although this is dual band, I currently just have this one hooked up to that UHF quarter wave that's on my hood, and I'm using this radio right now primarily for GMRS, although it will do DMR as well, and I have used it for that in the past. And with this radio is what I did, again using RTV silicone. I basically put a bead of RTV silicone on the top of the control head, and I then affixed it to this plastic panel that connects to the dash here. And then as far as the control cable for this radio, I ran that cable to the back where the top panel here and the bottom panel meet in the back, there is a gap there that left just enough room to feed that control cable through there. And so I fed that cable back, removing the carpet here. I ran it back under the carpet, and it goes to behind this panel here where I have the control head cable from the FTM 300 going. Then that goes into the kick plate, or below the kick plate as well. Now the last thing I have up here, or down here I should say, is I have an MFJ external speaker which is hooked up to my FTM 300. So I removed this panel here, which gives access to the back. I mounted the speaker using I believe double-sided tape, 3M tape, and I fixed that to a panel that's back there. And then I fed that cable underneath the carpet along with the control head cable from the Connect Systems mobile, and ran it again below the kick plate there. So going to the back here. So running those cables, I removed this panel as well, and then I removed the rear passenger kick plate. So all those cables feed from the front there, underneath the kick plate, to the back here, where they come up behind this panel here, and all the cabling is bundled up here. So with the setup here in the back, I purchased a piece of ABS plastic from Amazon, and all I had to do really to get this to fit was I just notched out a section of it here that will fit on the latch hook here for the rear seat. And then I use this existing bolt here to just drill a hole through the plastic panel, then mount that there. So as you can see, I have my Connect Systems mobile mounted to that, as well as the FTM 300. I then took a power distribution block that I purchased out of Amazon, and with this I'm running 10 gauge wire from the battery directly to feed this block, and then I'm using 14 gauge wire for each of the radios. And these are nice because they're individually fused, so each circuit or each radio that you have on here, regardless of what electronics you're running on here, can each have their own fuse. And all the wiring and everything for the radios is all on the back side of this panel, and it's affixed to the panel using zip ties. So all the cabling and everything that comes from the radios, again, are all bundled up back here, and they all go into that kick plate. So the same applies just with the control head cables and the external speaker cable. The power cables are going to the battery, all run down here under this kick plate and to the front, okay, behind this panel. And in the Nissans, there is a grommet that's up a ways. I'm probably not going to be able to capture it on the camera, but there's an existing grommet there that I just fed all the cabling through there into the engine bay. And going to the engine here. So, as far as the battery goes, you can see I've got the 10 gauge wire, which is going into this loom here. I attached a loom to that plastic panel using zip ties, and it all goes down into where that grommet is. And again, it's not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to show it to you all on the camera, but and the same thing for the antenna that I have on the hood here. I just ran the coax down into there and fed that through that same grommet there. So lastly, on the other side of the truck here, and I use this for currently for 10 meters and 11 meters. I purchased a fire stick stake pocket mount, which basically all they have to do to install this is you take out the cap for your stake pocket. This mount here, it's a 2-piece mount, which you feed the one piece while it's connected to the screws down in there, and as you tighten the top screws, it pulls that bottom plate and it attaches to the frame inside the stake pocket, and basically once you tighten it, then it's in place, it's not going anywhere. So with that, I went from up under the bed. I was able to feed the coax up here, affix the coax, and then on the back of the cab here, I basically went behind this panel here, and I drilled a hole. I put a rubber grommet in that hole, and then fed the coax through there, and the coax comes out here. It's under the back seat, under the WeatherTech mount here, and it runs to the front. And for that, currently what I'm running for 10 meters is a Lincoln, President Lincoln 2 Plus. So I basically took the bracket, and same thing, using RTV silicone, I just fixed a bracket inside the center console storage area here. And I don't run the radio full time in my truck. I typically only put it in here if I'm going on a road trip, or, you know, taking a long trip on the road, a lot of interstate driving and whatnot. Then I'll throw that radio in there to both, you know, 11 meters and 10 meters here. So with the FTM 300, you know, this has been a great radio. I typically, you know, I typically run APRS full time on this. Yeah, I've had no issues with this radio at all. However, I have recently, actually at Orlando Hamcation this year, I went and purchased a FTM 500 from HRO. They had a good deal on them. So I bought that radio, and I'm contemplating putting that in here and swapping it out and using this one as a base and having the 500 in here. If I do that, I will definitely do a video, although it won't really be involved because the cabling and everything, it uses the same control head cable, so there really won't be much involved with that. However, I'm thinking with that plastic panel that I have mounted behind the seat that the radios are mounted on, I'm thinking of changing that configuration, and if I do that, I will probably do a video of how I set that panel up with attaching the radio brackets, the radios, and running all the cabling and everything. So I'm probably looking to do that in the next month or so, and when I do that, I will do a video. But as you can see with the radio here, this MFJ speaker has pretty good audio compared to, again, using this radio with it being mounted behind the back seat. You know, you're going to have some issues because it's not going to be loud enough. But having this speaker up front here,
I don't know, where's the beef, what's going on with those small motors. But,
the radio is pretty loud. And then with the Connect Systems mobile down here, luckily it has a front firing speaker, and this is sufficient for, you know, driving and using it. I did not need a external speaker on this. So basically, with this setup here, pretty much everything that I used to set this up on, I put links in the description to Amazon for that. I also have some links for HRO for, you know, the radio, some of the antennas I'm using. And just to show you also, a couple of the other antennas that I've run before are the Comet SBB5 NMO. And this is a high gain dual band antenna that I've also run on my truck as well. And the other one I got back here is the Comet SS680SB NMO, and this is a dual band, a little more length. I think this one is about 27 inches. And I typically I will swap these out depending on where I'm going. If I'm just around you know, the metro area here in Tampa Bay, this Comet B10 is sufficient for, you know, getting into all the local repeaters and whatnot. The other antenna too, I have a Comet SS460 SB, and this one is, I think this one's about 18 inches. It's slightly taller than the B10, and I'll use this one around town as well. And again, these two, between the B10 and this one here, it's really all you need for you know, getting in the local repeaters and whatnot. However, when I do, you know, if I'm going on a road trip or doing interstate driving, I'll throw one of those other high gain antennas on there just to use for that, for, you know, either simplex or getting into distant repeaters here. So, but overall, as you can see, the radio, I mean, it's a clean install. You know, it doesn't take away from the aesthetics of the interior of the truck. Neither one of them really do. And I'll tell you that RTV silicone really holds up well. So it's a semi-permanent mounting solution. Even in Florida here in the summer heat, and these two radios have been installed in my truck for going on 3 years now, and I have zero issues. I mean, they're sturdy in there. They're not moving. Even with the heat hitting on that every day, you know, I park out in the sun and it's not going anywhere. So it's really a good alternative mounting solution. You know, for those of you who don't want to drill holes in your new vehicle, which is understandable, I don't either. It's just another option to be able to mount these, and you know, they're not going to go anywhere. So yeah, the last thing basically, as far as the mic goes for my STM 300, I purchased these mic clips from Amazon, which have adhesive tape on the back. I will tell you, the tape that it came with did not hold up very well, so I ended up replacing the tape from the back of the clip with I think I just went to Harbor Freight and got their cheap double-sided tape. I threw that on there. It's been holding up well. So that's where I keep the mic for that. And then the mic for my Connect Systems mobile here for GMRS is just laying in the seat. And the one thing I didn't go over, so with the mic there, I basically did the same thing. I went, you know, from the radio, it goes underneath the kick plate here. And then once I got to the front, by the front driver's seat, I basically just ran that cable under the carpet, and it runs to the center console area there. So again, everything is pretty hidden well. You know, the radios don't, in my opinion, they don't stand out. You know, they're aesthetically pleasing. So I'm pretty happy with it. So hopefully this will give some of you some ideas, and I hope some of you can take something away from this and apply it to your install. All right, thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.